Welcome to Keto Life Support, where we make your keto life sustainable, fun, and low stress. I'm Kim Howerton, and I'll be coming to you weekly with some of my keto besties to bring you the practical, real-world keto advice that you need. Quick disclaimer, I am not a doctor, and even if we do have a doctor in the house from time to time, he or she is not your doctor, and nothing we say on this show should be taken as medical advice. Always check in with a trusted medical professional about your own personal medical concerns.
Hello and welcome to Keto Life Support. This is Kim Howerton with episode 201. And today we're going to talk about resentment. So this came up in coaching this week and it just seemed important. And so I want to talk about it. I'm sure I've talked about it here and there before, but everything old is new again at some point, right? And one of my clients came to me with this feeling of, they described it as anger about how they had to eat. Now, this person has lost weight. They've been successful. They still have a little more they'd like to lose, right? Just like a lot of us in the world. And they didn't remember feeling quite this way before about their low carb diet. And they described it as like being angry they can't eat whatever they want. It rang a bell with me in a way that I think there's a deeper thing going on here, which is not, they're close relatives, but resentment. And this is, I will say, something I've dealt with a lot on my journey as well. And so I think it's worth talking about. I think the root of this resentment, honestly, is that in our society as a whole, we've been sold a bit of a bill of goods, right? Especially if you're in your 40s, maybe, I don't know, maybe everybody, but I don't know if like people in their 80s and 90s experienced this when they were growing up, but certainly 50s, 40s, I feel like we were kind of sold, and certainly younger. I feel like, the ads on TV showing what people ate, the meals at fast food restaurants, or gosh, if you ever watch an Outback Steakhouse commercial, the massive portions of food that people seem to be eating in these commercials, and, all the snack foods. And it's not just commercials, I'm using it as an example, but little by little, we seem to have been taught what quote unquote normal eating is supposed to look like. And if you hold that up as normal, portion sizes were served at restaurants, portion sizes were shown on TV and in commercials, and, then you would be right to kind of like have developed some kind of belief that the standard diet is like 5,000 calories in. It's like a huge amount of food a day, and you go out every night and it's just part of being a human and it's normal and you deserve a break today and all this stuff. And I really, when I trace it back, I think that's the root of the resentment. Because what often ends up happening is one day on our journey to being healthier, most of us make a realization that we can't eat that way. Sometimes we make it early, then we forget it, then we have to revisit it, then we go back, we go forth, and we go back and forth, right? But at the beginning of a weight loss journey, maybe you might be like, well, I'm going to do this to lose the weight and then I can get back to my way of eating, which was fun. And, it's not, I don't think we even consciously think the things I'm saying the way that I'm saying them, right? In such a concise thing. But, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 7 years, I don't know, sometime into your journey, I think it can come upon you suddenly that that's never going to happen. And often this resentment co-arises maybe with a stall or a period of, I don't know, being around people that don't eat the way you do or have a different kind of time around losing weight or, different health levels. And so you're kind of like, well, but they're eating that and why can't I eat that? This whole comparison issue. And then it doesn't help. Sometimes there are influencers out there. Oh, I'm going to stop. By the way, I don't even mean like eating garbage necessarily. I'm not saying that this is necessarily like founded in, I want to eat, ding dongs and Doritos. For some people, myself included, it's about like maybe just the quantity of food I want to eat. Like, how much do I want? I really would like the whole steak, right? I really would like the steak and the side of, ribs, right? I would like all of it. And that isn't going to work for my weight loss either. Now, 100%, there are people in the world whose hunger and food cravings and desire to eat and all that lines up when they get on the right way of eating, when they, are eating the whole food diet that is right for their body, so that they never have to think about it and it just sort of happens naturally. That's not the population I tend to work with. So I'm not denying that that population exists, right? They're great. It's awesome. I'm happy that some people can get all those things in alignment and never have to think about it again and then never feel deprived and everything works swimmingly. But there are people who have to continue to think about it and pay attention to things. There's probably been a significant amount of improvement. There usually is, where it's not like they're super out of control. But I can tell you, like, my experience in 2023 was that I hit a real pocket of resentment and wanted to eat more and wanted to eat for some emotional reasons too. Just to be honest, there was some depression, some desire to put more food in my face, not at a binge level, not at a crazy level, not like I used to do. Like, I used to be out of control. I'll do an episode about that too, but just a little more, like just a little more than I really needed. And I was resentful that I couldn't have that. And so I think we've been kind of set up to fail here for many of us. And sometimes these beliefs or these thoughts, they can be so insidious about what we should be able to do, how we should be able to eat. And so I just wanted to put that out there and put a little feeler out to you guys and say, like, does this ring a bell? Is this something that you're experiencing? Is there a place where you're like, oh, that feels true, right? This place where you're like, I feel like I may be feeling that resentment inside about this. And it's sort of just like a generalized resentment, right? You're not resentful at a specific person necessarily, or food or any of that. It's just this feeling like you were sold a bill of goods and it turned out not to be true about the way that you could proceed with food. And, for some of you, it is, hey, I've got autoimmune issues and I can't eat these kinds of foods. And everybody tells me like, these are healthy foods and I can't eat them. And I feel at odds with society there. Or, hey, I'm hearing from these influencers even in the keto or low carb space, I should be able to eat unlimited amounts of these kinds of foods and be fine because they don't affect my insulin. And yet I'm still heavier than I want to be. So what's going on there? And, they're telling me there's just healing to do and it's been 4 years, right? And you're like, I am feeling some, bottled up unhappiness here. I'm feeling like maybe the things I thought weren't right. And so I guess I just wanted to put out there that this is a thing that a lot of us have to deal with to get to the other side of. And you don't get to the other side and it's gone and in your rear view mirror and you'll never see it again, right? Something you got to be vigilant about and pay attention to. And I guess the reality at the end of the day for me that I have to keep coming back to is my body is my reality. Your body is your reality. What you think about your body, not just like what you think about, like your opinion about it, but like I should be able to do X, but when I do X, I get Y and I don't want Y. So, okay, the reality is Y. The reality is what you get. The reality is how it is in your body. The reality is how you feel, how you function, and like what your body composition is doing, like all of that. That is the reality. You might have thoughts or feelings about those things. It is the reality of your thoughts, but that's not what I'm talking about, like the cold, hard, real numbers, data. Here we are. That's what is real. What people tell you, I don't know. What the media tells you certainly is not real. You kind of have to let go of some of that. And maybe that's maturing, right? To say like, yeah, people lie to me all the time. And sometimes your own brain lies to you about what you should be able to do. And the reality, you just have to get good with reality again and say, all right, well, I ran an experiment to believe the voices in my head and I gained 10 pounds. Okay, maybe those aren't the voices I should be listening to. So for me, the way to clear up the resentment is to get really just grounded in what is and the effects of what is happening and the data, and to say, all right, this kind of sucks. I'm not going to lie. I would like this to be different. That isn't going to make it different. And what are my options? What are my options? Because you always have options. You might not like all your options, but you have options. You don't have just one. So one of them is you can be like, all right, I'm going to eat the way that I want to eat, because that means more to me than the results. You guys might be scratching your head at me saying this, but it's your body. You get to decide. Like if you're like, hey, when I eat the way I want to eat, I weigh 20 pounds more than I want to weigh. Okay. So you got to decide what's more important to you. Not weighing that 20 extra pounds or eating the way you want. And now there is a medium. Maybe it's eating some of the way you want and you're 10 pounds, right? You can find something in the middle for sure. And I think for 99% of the people, managing their life is about finding their happy place in the middle. But you can't live in a place where you're unhappy with your results, but you're unwilling to get real with the effort, right? On one level, you're like, there are certain things I'm willing to do. There are other things I'm not willing to do. All right. I got to get clear on that, and then get clear on, where you can cross those lines of effort to outcome. But the resentment, it's a silent killer, my friend. You got to let it go. You got to find a way to bring it into the light. You might not know it's happening, but if you're like a little bit downturned all day and you're a little bit, everyone makes you irritated, it may be menopause, but it also, maybe you got some resentments going on there, and maybe it's time to address them and say, okay, where am I out of alignment with what I want and what I'm doing? All right, guys, that's it for today. I'll talk to you next week.
Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Keto Life Support. Want more information? Want show notes? Want to suggest a topic? Just head over to ketolifesupport.com. That's where all that kind of thing can go on. By the way, I have a request. If you could go to your podcast host and hit subscribe, we would really, really appreciate it. And what would be even more awesome is if you could write a review. And what would be even more awesome than that is if you could write like a really flattering review. Just asking, you do you. All right. So thanks so much for joining us. I'm thrilled that you're part of the Keto fam. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.